In this lesson, we're going to talk about using the percent proportion. All right, example number 1. How do I convert fractions, decimals, and percents? All right, remember last year that we learned that a percent is always out of 100. So we're converting fractions and decimals and turning them into percentages. All right, and so then remember last year we also learned to go from a fraction to a decimal. Remember, it's the top number divided by the bottom number, and we've been talking about that a lot this year too. So I would take 2 divided by 5, and I would have 0.4. All right, so now I could either go from my decimal to my percent, or I could take my fraction to my percent. Let's say I took my fraction to my percent. Remember, we're saying that, so 2/5 is equal to then something all over 100, because remember, we're talking that it's a percentage. All right, so if I cross multiplied and divided, I'd have 5 times p is 5p is equal to 100 times 2 is 200, and I would end up, p would be equal to 40, and now you can't forget to put the percent on there. Now, some of you might have remembered from last year that also to go from a decimal to a percent, that you can times by 100, all right? And so if you had done it that way, well, I would multiply by 100 and my decimal would move 2 places to the right. And notice, I would end up with 40%. All right, so now our next one, we are given 55 as a decimal, or 0.55 as a decimal. Well, let's turn that into a fraction to begin with. And when you have 0.55, it's 55 hundredths. So I'm going to come over here and just write 55 all over 100. And then I'm going to take it and I'm going to simplify. I could divide the top by 5. I could divide the bottom by 5. And I would have 11 all over 20. All right. Now, so we're going to a percent. So we could either go back to our fraction and set that up as 11 all over 20 is equal to p all over 100. Or remember, we said that last year, you also remember that you could take your decimal and times it by 100, in which then you would get 55%. So either way, you could cross multiply and divide here, 11 times 100, and then divide that by 20, or take the decimal that we were already given and times that by 100. So for the next one, we have 24%. So we're given the 24%, and now we need to turn it into a decimal, and we need to turn it into a fraction. Now, last year, you probably learned that one of the ways to turn from a percent to a decimal, if I multiply to get the percent, well, to go from a percent to a decimal, I would be dividing by 100. So that's one way to go, is you could say, all right, I'm going to put my decimal right here, divide by 100, and my decimal then is going to be 0.24. All right, so let's go to the fraction. I would probably take, let me erase this right here. Remember, we said 24% is equal to 24 all over 100, because percents are always out of 100. Well, you could take 24 all over 100, and now let's just simplify it, because really it's 24 all over 100, but I could divide the top by 4, I could divide the bottom by 4, and I would get 6 all over 25. And you would notice if you took 6 divided by 25, all right, in efforts to keep our lesson a little bit shorter, and we just did problems just like this, we're going to skip the next 3 and move on to then finding the percent proportions. All right, example number 2, how do I use a percent proportion? So let's go ahead and take a look at the percent proportion. The percent proportion says that the part all over the whole is equal to p all over 100. And this p represents then, this is our percent. Now the part is the piece out of a whole. And so like, for example, if I had 15 out of 20 on a quiz, the part would be the 15 and the whole would be 20. Now there's some words that we can kind of look for as we are setting these up. And a lot of times we'll see the words is for the part. And then our whole is the out of. That's that total, like the out of 20. So you're looking for these is and the of, and you might have remembered that from last year. So now let's take a look. Number one, it says what percent of 25 is 17? And I always start with the making like a ratio. And because we're talking about percents, there's always going to be one that is all over 100. Now it says what percent. So the percent is what I don't know. Now we need to determine which of these is my part and which is my whole. It says what percent of 25 is 17. So our of, remember we said that that was our whole. So that's going to be the bottom number. And then we've got, then the is, the part is going to be 17. So we're going to then solve this by cross multiplying and dividing. So I'll have 25 times p is 25p, and then I'll have 1,700. And then we have to divide by the 25. And our p is going to be equal to 68. So 17 out of 25 is 68. Now we have to, because we're looking for the percent, we do have to have the percent sign. So our percent is 68%. All right, number two says, what number is 30% of 90? So again, we're going to make our ratios here. And because we're talking about percents, we know that one of them is going to be over 100. And the percent is always over 100. So I'm going to take this 30% and place that all over 100. Now we have to determine if the 90 is the part or the whole. It says what number is 30% of 90? Remember we said that 90 is our bottom number. So we're looking for our part here. So again, we're going to cross multiply and we're going to divide. And when I do that, x is going to be equal to 27. Now, because this is a part, it's not going to have a percent sign. All right, let's look at the last one, or number three here. We have, again, we're going to start with our proportions. And again, we have percentages, so one of them is going to be over 100. So now I know a percentage, so I'm going to place that right over the, there we go. All right, so it says 7 is 28% of what number? So that of what number is going to be, we're looking for that. That's the out of. And now I'm going to place my 7 right here. So I'm going to cross multiply, and then I'm going to divide. And we're going to get x is going to be equal to 25. And again, because I'm looking for the whole, I'm not going to put the percent signs around it. So my answer here is 25. Now, in order to make the lesson go a little bit, so it's not so long, we're going to skip 4, 5, and 6. We've just done examples of those. And if you need some more help, then you can ask your teacher for a little bit more help. All right, number 7 says, the circle graph shows the results of a radio survey in which 250 listeners were asked to rate a song. How many of the listeners who participated in the survey are tired of the song? So let's come over here to our graph, and we've got the 36%. So we want to know how many then are tired. Well, let's go ahead and make some sense of what we have here. Well, we're talking about the percentage again, so let's put that over 100, and I'm going to have my 36. Now, it said that we asked 250 listeners, and then 36% of those listeners are going to be tired of the song. So my 250 is my whole. And so what I'm doing is I'm going to be looking then to cross multiply and divide to get our part, and that would be the number of people that were tired of the song. Okay, so when I multiplied and cross multiplied and I divided, then I got 90, and it would be 90 listeners are tired of the song. All right, letter B says, how many listeners who participate in the survey love the song? All right, well, again, now we're going to be looking for 14%. And again, we still have the 250 of the total. So now we're just looking for what is 14% of 250. So I'm going to cross multiply and I'm going to divide. So 100 times x and then 250 times 14. All right, so x is going to be equal to 35. So 35 listeners love the song. All right, in our last example, it says, how do I find markup and discount? So, and this again, you learned this last year. It says that a movie costs $18 before tax, and the sales tax is 4.5%. What is the total cost? Remember, sales tax is a markup because it's something that you're paying in addition to the movie. So the question I'm going to ask myself if I have 4.5% tax is what is 4.5%, that's going to be over 100, of 18. And now this is going to give us the amount of the tax. And our tax is going to be 81 cents. All right, so that's going to be the amount that we're going to pay in tax. However, so when you go to pay for your movie, you're going to pay the $18 for the movie, plus you're going to pay the 81 cents for the tax. So your total cost for the movie is going to be $18.81. All right, number 2, it says the regular price for a beach towel is $25. They're on sale for 30% off. Find the sale price. So this here is going to be a discount because, and that's going to be something, a discount, something that you're not going to pay. You're going to minus it. So you have a beach towel. Let's make our proportion because we've got a percentage here. And it says that they're 30% off. So the question you're asking yourself is, what is 30% of 25? So 30% of 25. So 25 is going on the bottom. So then let's cross multiply and we're going to divide to get that amount. Right. So when I did that, x is equal to 7.5. So let's put this in money terms. So if I get 7.5, I'm going to have $7.50. Now, this is the amount I'm not going to pay. So that means that our beach towel is $25. And I'm going to have a savings of $7.50. So we want to know then how much we're going to pay. So we'll take our 25 minus $7.50, and then the amount that we're going to pay, our sale price is going to be $17.50. All right, we have one last one. It says your food bill is $37 and you leave a 20% tip. So again, tip is going to be a markup because you're going to pay that in addition to, so it's going to be a plus, just like the sales tax one. So you have your food bill, but then we're going to leave a 20% tip. So, and then it wants to know our total cost. So what the question I want to know is, what is 20% of 37? So I'm going to then cross multiply and divide. We're going to find, so I'm going to take my 20 times my 37, and then I'm going to divide that by 100. And you'll get $7.40. I ended up getting 7.4 on the calculator, but again, let's have it as money. So our food bill, we're going to pay our food bill of $37, plus we're going to pay the $7.40 that we are going to leave for the tip. So we're going to add those together, and our total is going to be $44.40. All right, so in this lesson, we looked at how to solve problems using the percent proportion.